And yo, the Sports Bag Bros podcast is coming at you on a Thursday. We do this twice a week, Monday and Thursday, so you caught us on the back end. But nothing has changed because the NBA championship game, I guess the finals after all of this, but the Western Conference championship games, Eastern Conference championship games were played, and we've been talking about it ever since. Now we know who the Western Conference champions are, who's going to be representing the West. Now we're waiting tonight to see what's going to happen between the Knicks and the Indiana Pacers in New York. What's good?
What's happening? Thunder took care of business as I expected. I still can't believe they lost by 40, but they're in the finals. And I think the Pacers win tonight. I haven't heard anything about Cat, especially if he's not playing. I think New York's chances decrease significantly.
Yeah, and I said it already. I'm not too comfortable with the Knicks playing Indiana in the beginning. I thought the Knicks did have the advantage. I thought they had the better matchup, and it seems like that's not working out. But whether it's on the road or at home, it's like when Indiana's ahead, I'm thinking they can stay ahead. And when the Knicks are ahead, I'm like, Indiana's going to come back. And after the heroics of Halliburton in the past couple of games, not only these games against the Knicks, but in the playoffs period, it's hard not to think that way. And so now, now the Knicks are at home, and I'm wondering, is this really something that's a big deal, being at home, trying to close out a team that's they don't make it look easy because each game has been competitive. It's just not – it seems like almost every instance, Indiana seems to have some type of damn advantage, even when they're behind. You're thinking something's going to happen to where it's going to benefit them. And right now, being up 3-1 against the Knicks, going into Madison Square Garden doesn't seem to faze them.
No, and especially considering the Knicks' home record this playoff. I think they have a losing record in the Garden.
And that's another thing. I don't know if it's the complete bias in me when I say that I can't believe they would lose in front of that crowd. I've been in part of that crowd before. I've seen the crowd virtually my whole life, and they're always so rabid. I look at other fans; they're not exactly that rabid. Well, just last night, you looked at what happened at OKC, completely different kind of vibe. It's like a younger crowd. It's like a college football game or a high school football game on OKC. Everybody's into it. Everybody's following suit. Everybody looks the same. But then you go to the Knicks and you expect them to just be outrageous. They're obnoxious New Yorkers. Now they have a chance to just do it without being penalized. And it doesn't seem to matter with anyone on Indiana's team. They walk in there, own the place, and they make you come to their house and they can close you out.
Right. And I'm not sure which one of your friends said it the other day, but he mentioned how most of the fans there are not hardcore fans. They're more like the corporate type.
Almost like Super Bowls.
Sit on their hands. So if that is the case, it's hard to get a home court advantage with people who sit on their hands for the most part.
Well, with the prices of those tickets, first of all, and we saw what happened in the last series in which everybody went crazy. I think those people on the outside were the ones who couldn't afford the tickets. That's why they were out there acting crazy. We saw all that emotion on the outside. Inside the game, people did the usual cheering and playing with the Oregon and all of that. Outside is where the real emotion was, where they were climbing everywhere because they couldn't get inside because you're talking about probably $1,000 seats sitting by the bathroom. That's just how it was in New York. But yeah, I think it's a lot like the Super Bowl. They complain about that. They need to give more tickets to just the regular Joe Blow, but regular Joe Blow don't have $6,000 to push.
That's right. But speaking of Knicks fans, I got to go in on ESPN yesterday because when asked, is the series over, Stephen A was like, well, I feel very confident that they can win a game 7 at home. Motherfucker, you got to get to game 7.
I'm about to say, come on, man.
He's like, I think they can win game 5. I'm very concerned about winning game 6 in Indianapolis. But if it got to 7, I'd be very confident. If that was any other team, not the Knicks, he'd be like, oh, it's over. This one's over.
Yep.
Come on.
It's biased.
Who else? I think if Perk was on there, Jay Williams, of all people, was the guy, the voice of reason yesterday. I was like, come on, man.
I think there's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek with what he's doing right now with Stephen A. Smith. The Knicks are rarely in this position, and the Knicks fans are always clamoring for it. He just happens to be the Knicks fan against the world's biggest Knicks fan now because he has the platform that makes people think that way. And, I think it's a little bit of tongue in cheek. I don't think he really has the confidence going into this game 5 tonight because in terms of confidence you're talking about, I think it's near E. I'm like, damn, where's the gas station? This is where it's at right now, how I feel about the Knicks. I want them to win. I wish that they would win. But the same rhetoric I've been using since this series has started, once I realized that they can hang with them well since the series went 2-0 in Indiana's favor, I don't feel comfortable at all at any point with the Knicks. And now after coming back from 17 points, Indiana, well, do you really even feel comfortable if it got to another 17-point or 20-point game? Yes, the Knicks do come back, but this Indiana team has already proven that there may be more than basketball to what they're doing. A team of destiny just has a destiny.
I think the key is pace of play. If you go back to that game 3 in the fourth quarter, the pace slowed down a lot. And the Pacers aren't the best half-court team in the league. Probably one of the worst, especially considering the teams in the playoffs. But in game 4, the Pacers were back to up and down, up and down, up and down. And you can tell by the score. It was 130-something to 120-something.
Yeah, the Knicks hung in there. They tried to push. They tried to show the grit, but they don't have the firepower for that.
The Knicks scored, but they weren't defending very well. So maybe they're an excellent half-court defensive team, but not a full court, not a very good full court defensive team.
Not
so that's the key. If the Knicks can slow it down, their chances increase significantly. But if it's up and down, if it gets to 115, 120, not only the pace of play, but then you gotta consider the Knicks players getting gassed.
Yeah, using that bench. Using the bench in New York might be helpful this time around, but I think in the last game, you can't talk about that last game without talking about how Halliburton just absolutely played a phenomenal game. You're not even talking about the historic assist, no turnovers. And this isn't the first time where he had a lot of assists and no turnovers. He's been smart as hell throughout the season. I mean, he had lapses, but in terms of generally looking at the season and realizing what he's been doing this past game, he showed the entire package, got the triple-double. You don't necessarily talk about him when it comes down to the rebounds, but he was getting the rebounds. Absolute field general, getting the ball to everybody. How do you defend against that? And then we're talking about how he could win a game with just scoring 13 points, but what happens when we score 32 points? They'll get 130 and win anyway.
Right. He came out early. He was aggressive, scoring the ball. I think he was sending the message not only to the Knicks, but to his team, like, hey, follow my lead. And a triple-double with 0 turnovers, I don't think that's ever happened before. Yeah.
I don't think in a playoff game, no, I don't think so.
Throwing 4 steals to top it off. He had an incredible game. His heroics weren't necessary down the stretch. They had a lead. They had to make their free throws. But he was just consistent throughout. And if he comes out like that again, I don't know if he can back it up 2 games in a row, triple-doubles, no turnovers. It's highly unlikely. But he can still get a triple-double, or he can still drop 15 assists and score 25. That dude, I don't know if he's a superstar or not, but no, he is. In the playoffs, he is.
This is when you become a superstar.
Playoffs, he is.
Doing it here is when you become a superstar.
Stephen A. can say he's not a superstar. This person can say he's not a superstar. We can say he's not a superstar. But right now, he is the biggest star in the Eastern Conference.
Oh, without a doubt. And the way they started off, like you said, man, it has to be. You can tell in the first couple of minutes if it's going to be a game that's going their way because of the amount of scoring they do and the ability to score the way they do. 78 points in the first quarter, man. That's a hell of a damn pace for any team in the NBA.
First half.
And they scored 43 of them.
The first half. They didn't score 78 in the first quarter.
No, 30. There was 78 points. I think it was 78.
Oh, you mean combined? I thought you meant
combined. Yeah. Okay. The over-under. Yeah, I'm always at that. But even if you had like a usually high over-under would be a 61, 62 and a half point over-under for the first quarter. These dudes ran it and got 78 points between them, 43 for them. And that's just not Knicks basketball, no matter how you cut it. The Knicks have never, well, when D'Antoni was there, they ran that kind of a thing. That's been far removed. Just worry about offense, don't worry about defense, man. But yeah, I don't ever want to be in a position as a fan, and I'm sure as a player, to have to hope someone doesn't do it again instead of being the reason why they don't do it again. You waiting for them to stub their toe instead of you playing your game to make sure they stub their toe and give you the best opportunity.
Right. So again, I think that series is over, especially if Cat doesn't play. Even if he does play, is he going to be hobbling around?
Well, pull Aaron Gordon, man. You got to come out. You got to get in there, man.
Maybe, but how mobile is he going to be? Is he going to be just shooting threes? He's going to have to go 8 for 12. You know what I'm saying? He's going to have to. His jumper is going to have to really be on for him to make an impact.
Yeah, and Jalen Brunson, and I've been saying now we can look at him as one of those elite point guards. He's not that second tier person we said a little earlier before the playoffs started. I still think he's that top tier guy, but defensively, he's been slowed down. And that's when the Knicks can't really get themselves in sorts when you don't have your field general able to do what he does. Because when all things fail, you look at him, he's not a high assist guy on a consistent basis. And, he don't get the rebounds on a consistent basis, but he damn scores. He gets his damn buckets. But when someone's able to slow him down, the whole team just goes awry and they freaking lose. They don't score as much. And you would think that somebody else will arbitrarily show up and score like they did in the past. A little bit of Josh Hart scoring a little bit, Anunoby scoring a little bit. It's not that way anymore, at least right now.
I tell you what, though, the Pacers did a great job the other night taking away passes, the kick-out passes. I don't know how many turnovers there were. Somebody would drive and try and kick it to the corner, and Pacers players running in front to steal the ball. It had to be at least 3 or 4 times. And it's kind of, it may not make sense saying that they played good defense when they gave up 120-some points. But those turnovers mount up. And if you get more shots, more possessions than your opponent, chances are you're going to win.
Oh, yeah. And I think the stat was that they scored, I believe, 19 points off of those turnovers, something around there. And you could really say that was part of the difference and the reason why they won. The Knicks turning it over so much and being able to execute off those turnovers. And I think they might have scored more in the paint as well. I just don't get it, man, because I think the Knicks, if you're talking about playing in the paint, you think the Knicks would have that advantage, and it's just not consistently their advantage. And now we can see with a 3-1 lead, I mean, really, if they win in the Garden, it's still one freaking game from losing the series.
Yeah, every game's an elimination game for them now.
That's it. The next 3 games are elimination games. And that's pressure all in its own. And these are professional players that know these kinds of things. I just don't know. And if Cat is out, that's more of an issue. Playing in front of the Garden crowd seems like it's not any issue, at least not for Indiana. It seems like the Knicks have a bigger problem playing in front of the Garden crowd than the Indianas or any other visiting team. I just don't know. But give props.
Another big issue has been Jalen Brunson getting into foul trouble.
Yeah, that's true. The dude was on the bench like
in game 3, it didn't hurt him because Cat dropped 20 in the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
But if Cat's limited today, Brunson has to stay out of foul trouble because then where are the points going to come from if he's on the bench?
And I hope he doesn't get injured because I'm not going to say he does that, but he does, according to people who watch, I mean, I've been watching it, but I see him get injured. And for me, it seems like, damn, this guy gets injured too damn much. And like last year, we talked about his injuries there. And I'm just hoping that he doesn't get injured here, right when the Knicks really need him. If he gets injured at any point between now and if there is a game 7, it's just, I think it's all incidental anyway with OKC, but it would be a fun series to see OKC and Indiana. But I'd like to see the Knicks there too, but it's going to be a different kind of game. I'm just hoping that Brunson doesn't get injured. I hope not. I'm not speaking an injury up for him. I'm just hoping that that's not the case tonight with everything on the line. And you keep looking at the score or you're watching the game and you're still looking at the score. You're hoping it's changing while you're watching it. And it's always changing in the favor of Indiana. And Indiana keeps going up by 10. Then they go by 12. And then the Knicks, you look at the biggest lead of the night is 2 points. I like it when the biggest lead of the night is 2 points and you took that lead at the end of the game.
At the end of the game.
That's all that matters. But shoot, when 2 points is as close as far as you can get away from them, and it happened in the 3rd quarter, That's a problem in the way they're shooting the three. Still at 40% from three-point range. Still, they have the same freaking stat throughout the playoffs. They were 36% all season long. Now they're 40% throughout the entire playoffs. That's hard to go against. And the Knicks were looking good from three-point range early on, but then reality struck.
Yeah, I mentioned it the other day. I just think the Pacers are better when they're able to move the ball up court quickly and get quick shots. The Knicks, it's hard for them to keep up for 4 full quarters.
It is.
And I think that's why it's hard for them to get big leads. You know, the Knicks, they say on the broadcast, the Knicks like this pace. Okay, they might like it, but the Pacers love it.
Yeah, they love it, and
That's
they
the
execute with it.
Game right there. And you're trying to beat the Pacers at their own game. You don't have the depth that they have.
Nope.
Your players get in foul trouble. Your players get tired late. It's hard for the Knicks to beat them.
And they don't use the bench consistently enough to give those starting players any damn rest. You know, if Indiana ends up playing Oklahoma City, take the over, no matter what the hell it is. It's going to be one of them all-star game overs, 250, something like that. That's what it's going to be. But yeah, going back to that.
I got a question, though. Where are all your Knicks fans' friends today?
Oh, well, one of them I had to work. I invited another one on. He hadn't gotten back to me yet, so I thought maybe he was stuck in traffic too, BS. Hit my ass. Yeah, we know, right? They're looking like those Knicks fans people were talking about. Oh, the Knicks fans are back. Man, come on, man. Yeah, when they win, they're back. Then when they lose, man, all of a sudden they're back on the milk carton. I don't know. The milk carton in the frozen food section, not even the dairy section.
So speaking of OKC, let me ask you this question. This was a topic at work yesterday. My coworker says if the Thunder win a title this year, that SGA is the greatest Thunder player of all time. I was like, whoa, better than KD. She's like, KD never won a championship.
And that's the damn truth.
I was like, yeah, that's true, but look what KD had. He had a choking Harden who's been proven to be a choker.
He was the sixth man then.
He was the sixth man, and he still choked. When he came in, he didn't do jack in those finals. And then his Robin was Westbrook. And she's like, that team was more talented than this team. I said, how?
I don't know, man.
Big Perk was the starting center. Big Perk wouldn't get no time on this Oklahoma City
team. The
team.
same time he's getting now in the air.
Starting for that OKC team. So I can't annoy SGA, the greatest Thunder player. Now, if he comes back to back or 2 and 3 years, 3 and 4 years, we can talk. But right now, KD's the greatest Thunder player of all time.
Oh, yeah. And this is such a young franchise anyway. So, you have a lot of time to continue to dominate. And, man, what I was just thinking about today as well was if this team comes back, I think out of all the teams in the NBA right now, and I know things are going to change because of max contracts and not being able to hold on to players, I'm thinking this team has the potential to have that dynasty we've missed for quite some time. I guess
we thought that about Denver too, though.
Yeah, exactly. We thought about Denver, but we saw the pieces fall apart because, well, guys got their paychecks and moved on, and even though they left some decent parts behind, it just wasn't enough. I'm thinking because of the young players and looking at the depth and all of that what OKC has right now, there's a bunch of young guys that aren't even up for those kind of contracts yet. They could come back next year still with the same team and do it again.
Possibly, but I think we got to see what happens with the Giannis sweepstakes before we start talking about next year.
I saw some nonsense today. I don't know if it was official or just, man, I can't even tell the difference between a meme and a real freaking story these days about Steph Curry.
You can't trust nobody these days.
You can't trust any damn body, man. It'll be you.
And they got these AI videos come out. They got Michael Jordan talking junk about Ant's not his player. Don't associate him with me. He's a choker, this and that. And that's not
that's AI, man. That's what it is.
That's what I'm saying.
Man.
You got all these baby AI videos coming out. I don't know what to trust, who to trust.
And that's the truth, man.
DTA, don't trust anybody.
And I just saw that today, or what was it, yesterday or today, about Steph Curry going to the Boston Celtics, making a blockbuster trade. And I was like, okay. I mean, I didn't even see what the parts were going to be. I think a 3-team blockbuster trade where Steph Curry ends up in Boston. I never would have thought about it, but whatever.
I don't even know what to say to that. Like,
That's what I was looking at. I was like, yo, it didn't make
there was
sense,
a
but then it
video.
did make sense.
There's a fake video of Curry announcing his retirement.
This AI is killing
So,
everybody, man. The
yeah, I
coach is
don't
telling
know.
them, talk about
I
smart
don't think
players.
Curry's going anywhere. But their GM is dumb, Levy, so he may make a dumb trade like that.
I mean, what would you have to do? I know it matches salary for salary in the NBA, so it doesn't necessarily just overall talent doesn't really mean it. But I know, and those draft picks aren't as important as they are with the NFL. But at this point in his career,
for Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown, a man for man trade, salary for salary, or throw something in there.
Well, you have to consider Steph's age. Like, how much?
Yeah, that's true.
Would you really
that's exactly what it is.
How much would you be willing to give up for Steph for 2 years? Maybe
2 years, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. And you think the injuries are starting to come? I think they already started a little while ago. The injuries are now more consistent.
Yeah, he never
the older you get, that's what happens. And then the kind of ball the Celtics play, they're a little bit more physical. In fact, a lot more physical than what he's used to at Golden State.
Yeah, I can see him being a good fit there, though. You know, kicking out to Tatum instead of Tatum always going 1-on-1.
How he's coming back from his Achilles going to have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
man,
so
that was Achilles, man.
Tatum, he won't even be available next year.
That's what I'm saying. Luckily, he's a young dude, and that Achilles heals up a lot better than it does. Because I remember I read an article years ago, and it happened because I read it because of Vinny Testaverde. Around 35 is that time when if you rupture your Achilles, it's going to probably be a huge issue. You know, you have less blood circulating through there at that age than you would as a young kid, and that's the reason why it ruptures and takes so long to heal. And I was like, damn. So I hung on to that, man. So when these players are around 35 and they get it, I'm like, damn. When they're younger, you still don't like it because for the player's sake, but you're like, he still has time to bounce back. He can do his thing. You know, Kevin Durant, you know, he wasn't below 35 years old. He came back from it, did some good things, just hadn't won another championship.
That's true. So
that Minnesota game. I mean, the overall Minnesota game. Yeah, just they just got blown the hell out. But Ant tried to play. Randall got his points, but I'm going back to a couple of games ago because Scott was telling me just earlier today about how good a player Randall is. And it's not even me being bitter over Randall. I really don't give a damn about what Randall's doing. You know, his three-point shooting seems to be on. He did well last night numbers-wise, but he scored 6 points a couple of games ago. Anytime you're in the playoffs, especially this deep in the playoffs, these are games of consequence. You have to be that guy if you want to be known as that guy. You can't have a 6-point game. You're talking James Harden, 6 points, 9 points when things matter. He's doing it in game sevens. At least Randall is doing it where he can make up for it, like in a game like yesterday, even in a blowout, he still got his points.
Yeah, you got to show up. You have to show up every game, especially.
That's what you have to do.
What game was it he dropped 6? Was it game 2?
At game 2, yeah.
After losing game 1, you got to try and steal game 2 on the road, or it's very difficult to win because then you got to win 4 out of 5, and then for him to put up 6, that pretty much guaranteed they were losing that game.
And you get blown out, then you start throwing points up that seemed like, so what? No one cares anymore. The game was never really close to begin with. Last night's game, when that game was like, 22-9 or 22-7, I knew the game was over. And being at home, the way OKC is and the way they've played at home all year, and especially in the playoffs, I still can't get this losing by 40-plus points and then coming back and beating another team by, you're up by 40 or whatever the hell it is, 30 points. You do it. I don't know how the NBA has come down to that. Dudes losing interest. You don't lose interest in playoff games, period. Even if you're down by 30, you still try to do something.
You shouldn't, but I mentioned the other day, it happens sometimes.
But it's been happening so much more now. And especially this season when teams are down by 5 teams down by 50 or more points at some point in the season.
I think
that's a lot of damn points for pro players.
Because of 3-point shooting, they say a 20-point lead is like a 10-point lead back in the day. Teams can come back from 20 because of 3-point shooting. But if the team up 20 is hitting their threes, you ain't coming back.
You ain't coming back. And now we're talking in Indiana's case, hitting 40% from 3-point range, the way they've been doing consistently. I mean, throughout the playoffs, and last night, 40 on the nose again like it's nothing. The other night, 40 on the nose like it's nothing. And then, like, no one can stop them. And then mid-range, Halliburton's mid-range game is something you don't see in the NBA a whole lot this time around. Now, going back to the OKC game, Alex Caruso, man. I mean, he's always been a pain in the butt, solid player. I remember the wrist injury a couple of years ago. Man, this guy, I mean, he's just a damn good, consistent player. That's what you need. He's one of those spirit players. Everybody else is phenomenally talented. Not that he's not phenomenally talented. He's just talented. But when you're around all these other unicorns, man, your hustle kind of helps them with their game.
Yeah, definitely. He's a hard-nosed player.
Yeah.
He can knock down some shots. He's athletic. He can finish on the break, finish at the rim. But he's going to play hard, tough-nosed defense.
He is.
He's going to give whoever he's guarding. Yeah, he's going to give whoever he's guarding fits. You know, they may score on him, but they're going to have to work for it.
Yep.
And every championship team needs a player like that. And he already has one chip if you count the bubble.
Yeah.
It was probably a bad trade, or they should have signed him if he was a free agent. I can't remember why he left LA, but they could have used Caruso in LA the last couple of years.
Yeah, somebody was.
I think OKC last night they smelled blood in the water.
Man,
the T-Wolves had no chance yesterday.
And man, again, this over/under damn thing I'm looking at from quarter to quarter. 35 points in the first quarter. I mean, OKC scores all of these points almost every game. And that first quarter is almost always a bust. I'm always like, take the under in the first quarter against these guys, even when they score 130 points, 120 points, 140 points. Take the freaking under in the first quarter, because the next three quarters are going to be freaking blowouts. And that's 35 points between these two teams in the first quarter. What the hell, man? I don't know how they don't get it together in front of that crowd, especially. That's a fun crowd to watch, even though I think it's a college crowd. But I think that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't watch the quarters that closely. So
when you got some money on the line, you got a little bit more interest.
Yeah,
that's what happens. That's
definitely true.
The live betting, man, and going by what the Knicks and the Indiana Pacers had done, man. Looking at all those damn points they're scoring, and typically a high over/under for the first quarter would be something like 58.5, 60.5, 61.5. These dudes are scoring over 70. That's just sick, man. But yeah, and the Knicks are playing tonight and trying to stave off elimination, trying to give it at least another day. And I think that they're just stopping the inevitable or slowing it down if they don't win it tonight. Well, if they don't win tonight, it's going to be over. But if they do win tonight,
it's like I said after game one: Jennifer Hudson, Thurman Munson, Jalen Brunson, Pacers in 5.
Pacers in 5, man. You might just be a prophet tonight if I don't profit with this game. Either way, man, that's damn. I'm not even enthusiastic about it. And once again, say Stephen A. may not be enthusiastic about it either. He's saying it because he's the Knicks shill with the biggest forum to be a shill. I think it's still a little bit more tongue-in-cheek, more fandom than logic. I'm just hoping that all of this works out in their favor, at least for this
it's
game.
It's crazy how he's the biggest Halliburton hater around, and Halliburton's giving it to the Knicks with no Vaseline, man. Stephen A., you call for it, and you're getting it. Bend over.
I can't dislike Halliburton. Halliburton, because I've been on it before. This has become an issue. I didn't think that he'll be an ultimate issue overall with the team. I thought he'd just be the best player on a mediocre team. Now this dude got a rising team that may be a pain in the ass in the future, even with that huge contract he signed. Just add some more talent to that team.
Hold up. I asked you, where's the Knicks fans? Where's Scott? Where's that Celtic lover been?
Yeah,
he's been MIA for a couple weeks now.
Nah, he'd rather just show up in the comments and rather than just come on here and get it like he deserves it.
He was telling us, watch out for this guy. He was telling us how, what's his name? Was it White?
Yeah, Derek White. Derek White.
Knicks had more lunch pail, hard hat guys. He's like, no, the Celtics have this guy. The Celtics have that guy. Nah, Celtics are at home.
Al Horford. Yeah, that guy.
Old man Horford.
Yeah, well, he's a Florida Gator, so Scott's always going to be on top of that Florida Gator deal anyway, no matter where these guys are. I don't know, man, but shoot, the Celtics are out of it, and the Knicks maybe following suit after tonight. I'm hoping they don't do something and give the crowd something else. And you know what? If they do win tonight, the crowd won't be out there acting a fool. They'll be so worried about the next game any damn way. Now, if they close it out at home, we'll get to see a whole bunch of foolery after that. But that's a big if. So, yeah, the NBA, finally delivering after all season of just stumbling by, embarrassing themselves, or lameness, etc. The playoffs have more than lived up to expectation, and even more so because you have teams that haven't been in it the past several years. And, with the exception of the Knicks, who's won a championship.
So I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of stuff that it's a foregone conclusion. OKC's winning the title.
Looks like it. At home, especially, they're going to have home court advantage.
If they sweep, I'm going to say the Pacers because I fully believe the Pacers are winning tonight. If they sweep the Pacers, is that a testament to how really good OKC is or how weak the Eastern Conference may be?
I don't think the Eastern Conference was that weak. I think it was competitive as hell. And I don't think it was top heavy.
Competitive with each other.
Yeah.
In comparison to the Western Conference.
I don't know. I haven't checked out the records of West Coast and East Coast and seen how it paired out there. Is it even over who has the decided edge or just a little bit more? I haven't even looked at that. But I mean, just look at the games. I'm thinking, the East probably was a little bit more top heavy for what they were doing. But I think as far as top to bottom, it was the West.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the Washington Wizards over here in the East. Bro, what are we talking about? And the Charlotte Hornets. Hell, man. Things can't get good. They can't do too well.
Like the Cavs got throttled. They got bounced in five games.
And that's true. And
the conference.
And it's all basketball, but we also know the injuries has a huge role. But that's part of the basketball and the grind that it takes to become a champ if you're going to become one. So, it's always some reason I hate it because it almost sounds like one of these boxing anecdotes you're using. There's always that one little reason why. So he would have won if, come on, man, the dude lost. That should be it. We talk about it all the time. If he didn't get injured, or you go back to even the Milwaukee with their asterisk championship, if Kevin Durant, his foot was smaller, if the big three played together more, all these woulda, couldas, and shouldas doesn't change history, doesn't change what's happened. But, well, that's going to be the NBA, man. Typically, if the Knicks was out, I wouldn't even watch the NBA Finals, but it looks like if it's going to be OKC in Indiana, man, that's going to be nothing but damn fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be fast-paced.
Yeah.
It might be kind of blasphemous to say this, but it might resemble Showtime Lakers.
You know what?
The pace.
You wouldn't be wrong.
Obviously, there's no magic with the no-look passes and all that, but I'm talking pace, up and down, up and down.
Yeah. And
it might be like a schoolyard game.
And a cerebral guard who doesn't turn the ball over a lot. I mean, like I said, this wasn't the first time he's done it. This season or even last season, got a bunch of assists and didn't get a turnover. So he just a cerebral player. Man, I don't think, other than Indiana, I don't think anyone can say they really saw this coming, him coming out of Iowa State, to think that this was going to happen, that he was going to be this kind of player. Because even when he got his big money, I still thought it would be Halliburton and just a bunch of Indiana Pacers that's going to be mediocre, but he'll be the reason why they're not terrible and still mediocre. Now they're like, this is something that's going to be a constant if they could keep this team together. But because he's the linchpin of the entire team, you bring other players in, I think he's just going to make them better anyhow. So they'll at least be in this spot on a pretty consistent basis, I think.
Well, the crazy thing is, like, we know Halliburton's a good player, but he doesn't seem to do anything spectacular during the season. But come playoff time,
man, he's been killing it.
He shines bright as hell, man. He shines bright.
And this is when you're supposed to become that superstar if you're claiming to be one, or if people are saying you're a superstar. The playoffs is when you do it. They always talk about this is the playoffs and when you do it. We remember before Peyton Manning won his Super Bowl, they called him Stat Boy because all he did was in the regular season throw up all these yards and points and all that, but didn't win any damn thing. Then he finally got his championship. So now this is someone who's doing it when it matters, and you have more steps to do it because they're playing series in basketball, and we're seeing it. And the clutch after clutch after clutch, and then this phenomenal playing that he had done the other night. He's a superstar. It's just that Stephen A. don't want to come to terms with it. And that's it. If he was doing the same damn thing for the Knicks, they'll be fighting a Mount Rushmore to put him on. Come on now. We already know.
If he had a Knicks uniform.
That's the only way to take it.
He'd be touting him for a top 10 player, MVP dark horse next season. He'd be touting him he'd be riding his nuts so hard.
Oh, you telling me, man, Stephen A. would have to come on the show with a bill every freaking day. That's him. He'd have been drooling over this, man, talking all that nonsense. But yeah, give credit where credit is due. Indiana seems like they're where they are in the driver's seat. When you're up 3-1, you are in the driver's seat. And OKC just waiting around, and they'll have a whole bunch of rest because the series doesn't start until next Thursday. Regardless of what the Knicks do, and if they end up going to a game 7 and winning a game 7, they're going to be tired as hell even come next Thursday.
Yeah, that's true, but man, there ain't gonna be no games.
Nah, it's probably not. And if Indiana wins tonight, they're gonna get some nice rest too. So we'll get some legitimate games next Thursday. No, not too many excuses.
Might be a little rusty though.
Yeah, they'll be a little rusty, but the way Indiana plays and the way they push the pace and the way OKC plays and the way they push the pace. And by the way, man, let's not forget how Chet Holmgren was playing. The blocks that he gets, his two-inch vertical because he's like taller than everyone. Two-inch vertical from alley-oop.
He's already up there.
And his three-point shooting. His three-point shooting, man. I'm like, yo, this guy's another unicorn. I'm not even going to say a poor man's Porzingis. Man, he may be Porzingis just on another team. And he's still very young.
And better defensively.
Better defensively and can handle the ball. But those swats he would get yesterday, he was playing volleyball with them. Cleaning the glass and doing it all, man. That whole team, when it's on track, man, there's no one that can stop them in the NBA when they're on top of it. And it's not even one of those when they're on top, they're on top. When they're doing well, they're doing well. They do well quite a damn bit, especially at home.
What I tell you about Rudy Gobert before the series?
Yep, yo, bro.
Total non-factor.
You've been the soothsayer on here, man. Between this 5 games the Knicks may be out in, talking about how Rudy Gobert is finally facing somebody who's taller, who do something at the center spot. You can't do anything with him.
Right. Because he has no skills. He has no offensive skills.
He's just a tough guy. That's it.
He might catch an alley-oop here or there. He might get a rebound, but if there's a big guy on him, it's sort of like Angel Reese. He has no skills to pump fake and go up and under or throw a little hook shot. He's got no offensive skills.
Man, and yeah, just they couldn't do anything. That had a lot to do with it. I know the focus is on Anthony Edwards and even now with Randall because of the bad game he had, but he put up the past 2 good games, and it's on them a little bit. But and it's still going to always be on Anthony Edwards because he's the one who runs his mouth the most. He just can't play and let things just come to him. And is this his version of being on the playing against the Detroit Bad Boys Pistons from years ago? Is this his rendition of it? He has to go through this to get to what's bigger later on, like Mike did.
Who?
Edwards. Does he have to? Because he's been playing well. It's just that
I can't compare the two. The Pistons were fucking thugs, man.
Yeah, it's completely different NBA. But I'm saying this is his rendition, having to go through this, getting beaten by teams like OKC, which is in a physical team. They just run you up and down the court and don't give you a chance. But the past couple of years, he's been trying to give it to him. He's just learning. And I think I saw just a little article.
I can see if he lost to OKC last year, but they got bounced by the Mavericks.
The Mavericks last year. Everybody got bounced by the Mavericks.
I can't make that comparison. He's losing to different teams. Like everybody after they beat the Warriors, they were calling them the favorite to win the championship. And I'm like, that makes no sense. They beat a team without Steph.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that. They act like the entire team was assembled. Right. In fact, that Klay Thompson was still there. They acted like he was still there.
He eliminated these people last year. He eliminated LeBron and Steph this year, and he didn't even really eliminate Steph. He didn't play. But okay, who eliminated him? Kyrie and Luka.
Yeah.
Now Shai Gilgeous, Alexander, and Chet.
But these are excellent players, though. This is an excellent team out of those teams.
It is. But I'm just saying, you can't be compiling the list over here, but you're losing to these guys over here. You gotta beat them all before you start fucking making the list.
So now I'm just wondering, this is it part of the maturation process? It has to be, because until he does something, he still has to mature to do it. And his game is his handle, man, bro. I like that dude's handle. I freaking Edwards got some handle, man. It's just that, man, what do you add around him to help him get to that point? Because it comes down to the GM and what they're going to put around him to make this come into fruition. You get OKC. Look how they put this team together, man.
They might want to move Naz Reid into the starting lineup and have Gobert come off the bench if they keep the roster as it's currently constructed, because Gobert, he's a liability on offense.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure T Wolves fans can't wait for Reed to come in the game and Gobert to sit.
Yeah, because Gobert is stiff. I mean, when it comes down to get your points, you're not gonna get him. And he'll do that defense, but if he's overwhelmed with everybody in the damn team, like OKC, when everybody's scoring at damn once, he can't be every damn where. And when he's supposed to be, he's not really effective there now.
Yeah, I think they need one more scorer.
Well, Minnesota.
Yeah,
Uh,
because
Giannis,
even
bring
not
in Giannis. Stay in the Midwest. Yeah, right.
Gobert, and Reed for Giannis.
Yeah, they're gonna have to give up something, but that'll be addition by subtraction. That'll be addition by subtraction if Giannis goes in and you get rid of those kinds of players. Hell yeah.
I don't. He's not going to Minnesota. You
Nah,
think he's going to
I
leave
doubt it.
Milwaukee to go to Minnesota? Nah.
I think he wanted to go out there to California, whether
Either
the
that or
Lakers or Golden State.
maybe the Heat.
The Heat wouldn't be a bad idea either. But after Dame just had his issues with the Heat, was it Dame that had issues trying to go to the Heat and they would let him go, or they didn't make the deal?
Yeah, he wanted to go there, but they traded him to the Bucks.
Yeah, and then Butler leaving the Heat because Butler just has issues everywhere he goes. So I don't know. But yeah, man. So yeah, that's a lot of damn basketball for the past couple of shows because it's been that good of basketball being played. So there's no shame in that game. But let's not forget there's been other things going on. The NFL is trying to peek its head around the corner. And our favorite cancer is in the news. Stephon Diggs in the pink stuff. What's going on with that?
What happened?
He was on some ship. He was on some, not a ship, but a cruise, I guess a yacht or whatever, on a boat. There's some video, these three girls dancing around him and all this and that, but he has some pills, like some joint with like drugs, and they're taking some, and it's like everybody just automatically assume they're just getting high out there. So Mike Vrabel already made a press conference about it. They're going to look into it, and everybody else just came at him. I mean, they just came really at him, and I couldn't find a more deserving person. I mean, come on, you're recovering from an Achilles that he blew. No, he blew his ACL. You blew your ACL. You're recovering from that. You're on some boat, some ride with some hot chicks, of course. But then you open up the little pink spot, and they.
My question is, who's the idiot recording?
I don't know. This fool didn't in this day and age, especially as an athlete or anybody who's famous at all, especially with a lot of money. He got that new contract that's going to get him $69 million and upwards.
Well, I'm assuming there's somebody on his team.
And it gets out there. If it's somebody on your team, how do you let it get out there, though?
That's what I'm saying.
Somebody's being grimy. First of all, I wouldn't even do that if I got a guy like that. I'm not even going to have a camera around if that's going to happen. Come on, man. I don't even want to make it even an issue of trying to get in trouble or loyalty or whatever it is. But yeah, he's gladly doing it. And what he did not think that somebody was going to get around to it. I think as soon as it was him, it was going to go viral, become what it became. I mean, yeah, Mike Vrabel was right there in the podium today talking about he knows about it, he's going to get to the bottom of it and all that. And then you have everybody else giving their opinion. I think Adam Schefter wrote about it, on articles on YouTube. Things have changed like all the time between social media platforms he goes on. Yeah, it's a pretty damn big story.
Yeah, I missed it, man.
And it's going to get worse. I'm sure it's going to get worse.
Speaking of dancing, did you see the video of LeBron dancing with his knee injury? You can't tell. No. He was celebrating something with somebody, and he's dancing. He's dancing, but he's bouncing on both legs. He's not.
So is he faking an injury now?
Doesn't look like his knee's bothering him at all. So this dude's the most fakingest injury
flopping outside of the season.
Yeah, like seriously, my knees hurt. I wouldn't be able to play if we won. It comes out with the cast on his wrist or whatever after they lost. Dude, come on, man, give it up already.
I ain't know about that, man. What is that, a party or something? Kids party?
I want to say, yeah, it probably was a kids party because I think he was dancing with like a teenage girl or something, like maybe a niece or cousin or something. I don't know. But he was having a great time. Looked healthy as fuck.
Healthy as fuck. The camera showed up, he just flopped. Like, I'm dead again. That's what he probably tried to do. Man, this guy can't win for losing when it comes down to just people kind of having you want to have, I don't know, you're never going to get it in sports, but everybody kind of thinks the same way. But you would like a general idea of how people think about you. Like MJ, there's a general thought process about MJ that's probably not going to change regardless of what's going to be the outliers. And that's not the same with LeBron. I think there's so many people who are on the other side of him, even though I think the majority of the people in total are for him, there's still a whole bunch that are against him. And every little thing he does or doesn't do is going to get a little bit more attention than it probably should get. But he seems to bring it on himself because he's either doing something that's going to allow them to say something, or he's doing something that's going to allow them to say something. Those are his two options. He just does it. I wonder if I can't say he just does it to stay relevant, because he's relevant, whether you like him or not. He's freaking relevant in the NBA.
That's true.
And it's, he's influential, relevant, and all the above. But anyways, yep.
I just don't see how a dude with a knee injury that requires surgery is dancing on that same knee.
40 years old.
It's not even a month later. Maybe it has been a month. I don't know.
Yeah, but at that age, man,
who recovers it in less than 30 days?
Yeah, it's harder to come back from, man.
His DICK riders are gonna say, "Oh, he's the GOAT. He does GOAT things. That's why." Man, fuck out of here.
They'll find something to end it with the GOAT. But man, oh, LeBron. I don't know. I can't say I don't have anything against him as a player, because it's pretty immaterial to me, the things he does. I think the things that he's done that had gotten him championships and the thing that keeps him relevant, I can talk about those things. But other things he does, I really don't give a damn. And except for when he starts
I don't care what he does off the court, but don't tell me you have a knee injury and you're dancing.
Off the court now, the things he decided to participate in, I don't necessarily like.
My only issue with him is his flopping and denying that he's a flopper. There's been too many occasions where he's flopped. And then my main issue with LeBron is his fans, his DICK riders.
Well, yeah, that's typically the case. The fans make it a lot worse than the player could ever make it. And that's happens so damn often. It makes you hate the player more because they're fans, and the ridiculous notions they have is like the Mayweather fans. They make you hate Mayweather. I mean, for the people.
You always see these memes or little clips. Jordan never did this. Jordan couldn't do that. Why do you care about Jordan? He hasn't played in 20-some years. Come on, man. You let that man live free in your head. You got to promote your guy. You got to diss Jordan 20 years ago. Not like he's in the league now.
But they got Jordan laying on the floor against the Pistons. Look how tough he is. They tried to change the rules for him. I mean, they show all those little clips of Jordan laying on the court because the Pistons did some dirty work. And it was a completely different NBA. Now, I think LeBron, if he was in that era, I think he still, because he has the body to do it. If he grew up in that era, he wouldn't know any other way to play. So he would play in that era. And I think some people just want to make it seem like the LeBron today, or the LeBron that they know of since he's been in the NBA, wouldn't be able to play in that league because the rules are different now than they were back then. But if he grew up in that same era with Karl Malone and those powerful damn types of power forwards in the forwards period, hell, he wouldn't know any other way to play. So I think he would have played well, and I think he's better than Karl Malone, so he would have been better than Karl Malone.
Yeah, there's no question of that.
No question about that. Yo, football-wise, I know we're going back to the NFL. I know I didn't really want to talk about it. I think I mentioned it just a little bit. Travis Hunter gets married to the woman that we've seen the past couple of months, and they think no prenup. How did they get in his business and know whether there's a prenup or not? He could just tell him not to shut him up. Yeah, but I'm hearing everybody giving their take on what he should do with his life. And on the surface, it looks like there's some validity to it because she's a gold digger. She made you sit outside when she went in a party with other dudes. Now, that is true, man. I don't know what to say. If you decide to marry a chick like this and if nothing has changed, I don't know. You don't know either one of these people personally. Other than what you see on television and what social media creates, you don't know any of it. So, and I'm not going to say.
That's what I was about to say. I don't know the situation. I don't have any details, so I can't comment on it.
That's, I mean, just from what's been said, period, or just what's been empirical, because
who said it?
You know what I'm saying? He admits, yeah, she went into a party and I was out in the car. I'm not down with that kind of crew. Yeah, the way they do things, I guess, is the way they do things. I know I wouldn't be down like that, but you know what? To each their own. And if it works for them. But I just don't like that there's really a possibility when you look at the divorce rates these days, pretty much a coin flip's chance And then you look at a young dude like that seems like he's a nice dude. He's down here in Jacksonville, man. We're getting that vibe from him, getting
do
all
we
that
know
money.
what went on in the club when he was outside? Do we know?
No, a party. She went to a party and he stayed outside, bro, with dudes, man.
Was it all dudes? She was the only chick.
I thought it was all dudes. But
I'm just saying, we don't know what happened.
That's wicked, man.
Now, if one of them dudes came outside, man, you need to go get your girl, man. Homeboy got her in the closet.
Nah, she just having fun.
I'm just saying, but
bro, if one of the dudes is doing the smash, he ain't coming out to tell him any damn thing, and everybody else.
No, I'm not saying the dude doing the smash is somebody that's in there like trying to look out for Travis.
Man, I don't even know, man. I guess that's before he became
like
he's always been popular from day one.
If you know Travis and you like him, you shouldn't want him to be with no hoe.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You tell him.
I don't know what other people have told him. I know, because it became a social media story, and then the way she gets attention herself and the things she's been doing, she's like a step away from being an OnlyFans model in a lot of people's opinions. And for him to get the money he's got, and now they claim there's no prenup. Once again, I don't know how they even know there's not a prenup, how you're in his business like that. That's not public record to find out if someone has a prenup. And man, I just hope nothing happens to the kid, because he does come across as a nice little kid. Even the days when he played Georgia football in Georgia high school, and they were talking about his personality, it seems like in that area, nothing necessarily changed. He just talked about fishing and playing games and things like that. And he's doing the same thing now. Now he has a little bit more money to do those things with. I just hope that it doesn't come down to her taking him to the cleaners with some BS in the future.
Right. But speaking of OnlyFans, how long is it before Angel Reese is
out of she's already there.
How long before she's out of the WNBA and she has no more endorsements and we find her on OnlyFans? I hope not, but I'm just saying.
Because I wouldn't go there anyway to watch her.
I'm just saying.
I watch Ice Age.
Her game has not improved.
No, it hasn't, because
she's like I said, Gobert is like she is. She's the Rudy Gobert of the WNBA. She get a lot of rebounds. She might play a little defense, but she's trash. When you shoot 20-some% from the dotted line and in the paint, you're trash.
God, absolutely. You know what? I still got that sound effect from Zach Wilson. That's Angel Reese. That's the Angel Reese alarm now. The garbage truck. Back it up. And we now see that Caitlin Clark is the reason for the season in the WNBA. Only, relatively speaking, 11,000 plus at the game yesterday against the Washington Mystics. They do lose that game, and the tribals are out there telling you reasons why they lost. It had nothing to do with her. Shut up. No one cares. That's why there's freaking fatigue, because you see a bunch of gibberish and nonsense no one agrees with.
How many people usually?
She normally brings 17, 18,000. In some of these places, they've gotten bigger arenas because of her. Like in Chicago, they were talking about the United Center. Up in Washington, they're talking about where the Wizards play.
And if they had moved the game to the United Center for the Fever, Angel Reese would have had a fit. Bro, why can't we always play here? Yeah, because you'd only get maybe 5,000.
That's what I'm saying. 8,000, around 8,000, I think is the average for her.
And you know what I saw? We were talking about you can't trust. It was a quote attributed to Brandon Griner, saying,
"Yeah,
she doesn't like playing the Fever because there's so many people in the stands, and it's a distraction. She likes it better when there's nobody there." I'm like, that can't be real.
Yeah, that's what AI crap. That can't be real shit, man. She says enough nonsense that has nothing to do with AI, and those are her real ideas and real thoughts that people just look at and be like, "Are you crazy, man?" Man, it's a joke, the whole damn thing. And I know they're trying to make up the newest player now, trying to be the next Caitlin. There is no next Caitlin Clark. There's only one time you can do it, and she's the one who's doing it, and it's residual. It's starting, it started last year, and it's going on until the time she leaves the WNBA, whenever she decides to leave. After she smashed all those records, now who was it? Diana Taurasi is talking about other players that are going to be better than her. Bro, Diana, your time is up. And she's pretty much near your records already after season and a half, So you get all these bitter chicks that's coming up. Anyone but Caitlin Clark. They'll vouch for anyone but Caitlin Clark. They'll even bring in Juju, even with the knee injury, saying that this is going to be the greatest woman. The only one I can see that would have been greater is Cheryl Miller. That's going to always be my number one GOAT. with women's basketball. I wish there was an WNBA when she was playing.
I can see that.
But anyway, I guess that's going to be the end of it. The next game is about to come on, and either get some tears or get some water, and the water will turn into tears watching that damn game. So what's your prediction point wise? The Knicks are favored 4.5. They were favored in every home game so far, and they lost 2 of them.
I said Pacers by 5 the other night. I'm gonna go Pacers by 4.
The line is 4.5. Man, it's 4.5 for the Knicks. All you got to do is take the Pacers on the money line. You're probably getting paid. That's it. You got to get paid on the money line because it looks like it's going to be outright win. I'm going to root for the Knicks though, and because of fandom and because of hope and change from what you did last game to this game, and so we can win this one. So yeah, that'll be it for me though.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck to them. I'm hoping, and I know the fans won't be out there climbing around if they actually went on Madison Square Garden tonight. He's Bias on Tribe, and the Sports Bag Bros podcast will be back at you on Monday. There will be a lot more to talk about. Just one less team because OKC has already punched their tickets. Until then, deuces.
Adios.